Randhawa as a defendant. He is the only person facing criminal charges in the case. Next week will mark 7 years since Ryan Stuka went missing from the Sun Peaks area. His family has returned to the mountain for the annual Run for Ryan ski event. 20-year-old Ryan Stuka went missing in the early morning hours of February 17th in 2018 after attending a house party in Sun Peaks. Since then, extensive searches have been undertaken, but the investigation hasn't determined what happened to him. Each year since then, the community and the Stuka family have gathered at the resort to commemorate Ryan and to remind everyone about his disappearance.
The people that we have met, they've been incredible and behind us, and I mean, words can't express how they have supported us. And like you said, solidarity, we need to, it's a blessing.
Participants will meet at the top of the Sunburst chairlift at 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon, ski down together, and then gather for food and beverages afterwards.
It feels like that's, sort of mimics what he would have liked to do. And it, for us, it's such I think it's very gentle on our hearts, having that day come and being surrounded by the community, our friends and family that come up every year. So I think that although heavy, it's not as heavy as I think it could be.
Anyone with information about Ryan Stuka's disappearance is urged to contact the Kamloops RCMP. The number to call, 828-3000. Kamloops Fire Rescue is once again asking Kamloops residents to stay off the river even if the ice looks safe. The call comes following multiple incidents earlier in the week with students heading onto the ice after school. Curtis Goodrum has more.
Now the weather has started to turn, the call comes out again from Kamloops Fire Rescue to stay off the ice.
Our official stance on ice in the city is there's no safe ice. Stay off of it, especially on the rivers. It's just
I've swam in that river
idea
when it was warm.
We don't want to see anybody in the water.
If people refuse the request of Kamloops Fire Rescue and unfortunately end up in the icy
Kamloops,
water,
the confluence of the North and South Thompson rivers.
Of the KFR has life-saving tips on how best to protect themselves and make the job easier for others to rescue them.
If you do go in the water, you want to make sure that you call for help, obviously. You want to grab onto the edge, you want to flatten your body, let your feet out behind you, and just kick as hard as you can and pull yourself off the ice.
Oh, God. In Cozumel.
You don't have a lot of time because that water is very cold. But
in Cozumel,
I
got
us to get here as quickly as
caught
possible
in an undertow.
and get you out of the ice. But
should someone be
if
walking
I hadn't
near a river
swam 100 miles an hour, I'd be dead.
It could save lives. Pont warns to call emergency services first before attempting to rescue someone.
Call 911. Make sure you get help on the way as quickly as possible because that water is very cold and we don't have a lot of time. We don't generally recommend that people go out on the ice to help other people, but if you must, you want to lie on the ice, stretch your body out.
Yeah, I landed on the beach here.
Possible. Grab a long
just
stick,
before COVID, skydiving. They don't have that anymore.
Jeff Pont mentioning again, there is no safe ice in Kamloops.
That was amazing.
Additionally,
at
according to the
10,000
KFR,
feet.
ice will become more
Looking
dangerous
at Mount Peter
as the
and
weather
Mount Paul.
warms up.
So it's better just to not go near the ice and stay on the shore this time of year. And like you say, as it warms up, the ice becomes even more variable. It's even more important to stay off the ice.
While it may seem fun to head down to the river with your friends or even your family, KFR reiterates it is dangerous and not at all recommended. Curtis Goodrum, CFJC News.
Good advice from Jeff Pont and from Curtis as well.
I'm not afraid of birds.
I've even talked about.
I know.
Be careful.
Why are women afraid of birds?
Yes.
It's so
I don't know.
dangerous. Be
Why
careful,
are women afraid of birds? I'm afraid of dogs.
And then, of course, you don't want anything really tragic to happen.
I've been
Stay
attacked by a
away.
Stay away
Rottweiler.
from the ice. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be looking at some snow probably by the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
I heard there was
Saturday
going to be
night
50
is when
centimeters
we're
in
looking at it
places
beginning
today.
and then carrying into most of Sunday. So it should be a pretty snowy first half, I guess you could say, of our family day long weekend or Sunday
Sorry,
anyway.
Phoenix.
But
Still some beautiful sunshine today, and it's cold with the wind chill overnight into the early mornings. Bill, we probably
low
won't see too
humidity.
much in the way of sunny skies
Maybe
tomorrow.
that's why you're scratching
just
yourself.
an increasing cloud ahead of the system that we are looking at. But yeah, it's going to warm up next week.
All right.
Yeah, so there you go. We'll take you outside right now.
Don't
where
you
it
dare
is a
touch
beautiful
my
evening.
buttons.
Look at that. It is -2, very light winds. Not going to see too much
Humidity
in the way of any precipitation
45%.
for a couple of more days, but it's coming, everybody. -2 was our
It
high,
says
normally at +3, so we're
low
inching closer and
humidity
closer,
here.
and next week we will be
That's
probably
below
above
20%.
average going into at least the middle of next
What
week.
is
We'll see how that
relative
shakes down, but
humidity?
12.8, our record high on this day in 1998, and we take you back to
Even the
1951
pharmacist
for
didn't
our record
understand.
low, -20.6. Snapshot of the day. We aren't anywhere close
Lake
to Kamloops
Louise,
for this
I've
one,
done
but
a
this
painting.
is such
Yeah,
a great
I've been
photo
there a
that
few
we
times.
had to share. Wade Roberts
2006,
is
a
always
great
traveling
ski
around
holiday
and taking fabulous
with me and
pictures for us.
Jillian.
And Wade, we usually feature the ones that are closest to home, but this is a beautiful shot at
2006.
Lake Louise this past
Seems
weekend.
like yesterday.
And it's so Canadian. I just love this. Thank you very much,
20 years
Wade, for
ago.
sharing. A beautiful spot. Snapshot at cfjctv.com for
That is a
your
good
emails
shot.
to go to. Please send your photos, and I'll have your forecast details later.
Bad for global trade, it's bad for the global economy, it's bad for global finance, it's bad for geopolitics.
But it is good for gold. He's talking about the result of tariffs, but the price of gold is rising.
Huh. I collect silver.
Skycam brought to you by Raisin Brown's Locksmiths. 2 great companies, 1 great service. Servicing Kamloops and area for over 100 years.
And she puts her mind to. The Warrants is able to provide Vanessa.
Healy says the impacts of the reckless and destabilizing tariffs are impossible to predict, and it would be wrong to underestimate their impact.
Why would we pay $200 billion a year in subsidies to Canada when they're not a state? You do that for a state, but you don't do that for somebody else's country. So I think Canada is.
Yes, I am 30% American.
To be our 51st state.
The reality
I
is,
love Americans.
at the time that this commitment was made, it was a very different time than the world after November 25th, when
I
then
love
President-elect
the British.
Trump announced 25% tariffs on their closest trading partner.
There are a
As well,
few
Bailey
that
says
are
a
reckless.
hiring freeze for public service employees will be put in place. U.S. President Donald Trump is vowing reciprocal tariffs, meaning any country that charges taxes on American imports will be taxed as well. These are separate from the levies that Trump has already threatened against nations like Canada. However, as Taria Isri reports,
We're already
they
in a
extend further to
recession.
anything Trump
Now
considers
it's
a trade
going to be
barrier.
worse.
Prices go up.
Excuse me, we haven't asked you to speak yet, please.
Donald Trump fired a shot across the bow with a warning to rivals and allies
He's
alike.
got an itchy
I'm just
trigger
doing what's
finger.
fair. This is a very fair thing. This should have been done a long time ago.
The U.S. president, who's largely gone after Canada, Mexico, and China, now says he's targeting
Greenland and
everyone.
Panama.
The EU's been very nasty. It's just been, they haven't treated us properly.
This country does not charge
How
tariffs
the
on
hell
U.S.
did he
goods,
get away with
so
all
it's
of
not
this?
clear what's next for
And
Canada.
he's a criminal.
But Trump now appears to be going after sales taxes, like the GST, or Europe's value-added tax, VAT.
Well, what they are now is they have a 20% VAT tax, which we're considering to be similar or the same as the tariff.
Even though Trump's tariff threat is now global, his obsession with Canada continues.
Canada's been very bad to us on trade, but now Canada's going to have
What?
to start paying up.
No,
Canada
we
has
haven't.
imposed a digital services tax on American online tech giants like Facebook and Google, a tax Trump seems to be taking issue with.
That's adding some insult to the injury here, and frankly, I'm not surprised to hear the Americans are looking to come at us and exert some pain.
Canada's allies have been largely silent, not condemning Trump's tariff and sovereignty threats against this country. But
Well,
his
if it
vows
wasn't
to slap
for my
most of the
grandfather
world with
Clark from
tariffs
Iowa,
may change that.
I wouldn't be here.
Taria Isri, Global News,
Same name as me.
Montreal.
The price of gold has
Montreal
been on fire
looks
this
bad.
week, touching record highs on Tuesday. Investors are worried about the global impact of tariffs that President Trump is threatening against trade partners. And Gaviola has more on what's driving the gold frenzy.
During times of great fear and uncertainty,
there's a lot of gold in these hills here. I'm paying for
it. With a trade war looming, the precious metals price shot to new heights this week.
If you look for the top three reasons, I would say it's Trump, Trump, and Trump.
Institutional investors and central banks have been stocking up since Trump was elected.
There was definitely an incredible intensity in the marketplace.
Well, what do I know?
Late December,
I'm
January,
just
when people were just working out what the hell's going
normal
on
man
and trying to digest
in Canada,
historically, people moved
living
money into
with
gold
polar
because
bears
it's
and
perceived
igloos.
as a safe haven, a place to park your money during